All right, so we have a panel assembled here of experts. So let's get the show on the road here. We're going to start off with the students. The obvious question, and this is nice, both in-state and out-of-state, why IU, and a little bit about your college search process. Un poquito, a little bit.
Sounds good. So I grew up, like I said, in Greenwood, Indiana. I've had a multitude of different family members come to IU, several of them being Kelly alumni. So actually, when I was going through the college search process, I was actually possibly going to play soccer. So I was primarily recruiting for that. But when it kind of came down to it of trying to decide between playing soccer or wanting to pursue a good business school, for me it was kind of a no-brainer of wanting to do Kelly and be around, still having that healthy balance of still staying like somewhat far away from my family, but having the ability for them to come down whenever needed.
So my experience was a little bit different. As I mentioned, I'm from Pennsylvania. That's like an 11-hour drive. So I really was not sure if I wanted to go that far. My college search process was a lot of Big Ten schools. I knew I wanted a lot of school spirit, a lot of different opportunities in case I changed my major. So I visited a lot of schools that were similar to IU. But ultimately, when I came to visit here, I literally fell in love the second I stepped on campus. There are so many opportunities here for me to take part in. I'm an education major, and the education program was really good here. So that was another huge part of why I chose IU, as well as the sports environment. I love going to games, so that was a really, really important factor for me too.
So this is for Jeff. What advice could you share, maybe some tips for the students who want to be successful, and then the advice for the parents to kind of help them in that path?
Yeah, that's a great question. As a professor here, I've seen a lot of students get off on the wrong foot early on, and so the biggest, most important thing you can do is just to establish good rules and habits from the get-go. I think it's easy to come over from high school and you feel like, oh gosh, I'm not at school all day, I've got so much time. Nobody's telling me when to go to bed, and then, things kind of devolve from that where you're staying up later and later, and that's a big issue that I found with students is, I'd come in and I'd say, well, what time did you go to bed? And they go, well, 3 o'clock in the morning. And they couldn't make a 10 o'clock class. So I think just establishing that kind of self-discipline, getting off with good habits, and the reason to do that is because you're not only going to be more successful, you're going to have a lot more fun. I remember my uncle, before I went to college, he said, here's what I did. He said, I studied all the time, every day. I went to the library. When an exam came around, I reviewed my notes, and then I went to a movie. He said I never crammed. And so I took that advice, and really stayed with my studies. And that discipline and that sort of schedule, weekly schedule, really helped me to enjoy college much more. And I think for parents, I think it's just to encourage them to do that, to keep communication open, find out how things are going, early on. I think it's also important, too, to find and connect with a good group of people here. There's such an opportunity to make so many friends, but you need to find friends who are going to support your goals, your academic goals, your other interests. Those are the people you want to surround yourself with, who will inspire you to do great things.
And it does help if they attend class regularly, doesn't it?
And attending every class, and also take the time to introduce yourself to your professor. Even if it's a big class, going up and just, the first day or second day, say, hey, I just want to say I'm happy to be in your class. My name's so-and-so. If there's anything I can do to get a good grade, or, you have any suggestions, let me know. So I think that's important. I know as a professor, I wanted to get to know the students that I was teaching. I wanted to know where they're from. And I think when you do that, it becomes more of a personal sort of human connection.
So Ken, what is the university vision, and sometimes students press the panic button if they're not a direct admit. So what is that process for the students who start off in the university division?
Yeah, I'm going to stand up if you don't mind. I've been at my desk all morning. I'm going to be at my desk all afternoon. When I go home, I want to be able to tell my wife I got some exercise today. 4 years or so from now, your diploma will say Indiana University on it, but technically, the degree you get will not be from Indiana University as much as it will be from one of the schools in Indiana University, like the College of Arts and Sciences, or the Kelley School of Business, or the Luddy School of Informatics, Computer Science, and Engineering, and all these various different schools. You are either directly admitted into the school when you come to IU, or you get into the school after coming to IU through application or certification. The majority of people coming in don't get directly admitted to their school. They start in university division, and our job, as I tell my students, please don't take this the wrong way, but our job is basically to get rid of you, to move you up the chain, to get you into the school that will grant you the degree, because that's where you want to be. When you're in university division, you will have an academic advisor of your very own, with whom you'll meet and talk about all the different planning strategies there are to get from where you are to get you where you want to be. And I look forward to meeting some of you, actually. And before I sit down, I wanted to just piggyback on what Professor Hubert said. If you find yourself in a situation where high school was particularly unchallenging for you, don't think that's going to happen here. The students that I have found run into the most difficulties are the ones that had an easy time of it in high school and just kind of carried that through into their university experience, and everything they tell you about how different it's going to be, it's true. So be prepared.
So, Lloyd, if they've not yet submitted a housing application, one, when did the housing application go live? And could you tell us about the application process for both housing and meals?
Absolutely, wonderful to see those hands in the air. Hopefully there will be more hands in the air by the end of either today or this week. Before I even start talking, I will mention that everything that I'm about to say and so much more can be found on our website, www.rps.indiana.edu. So I'm going to give you 3 kind of date ranges to keep in mind. May 11th, mid-June, end of July. All right, that May 11th date is the date that the housing application and the meal plan are due. It's the same application, but in essence, you can submit that at any point in time, and up until a May 11th at 5 p.m., you can make any changes that you want. So there's really no penalty in submitting right now and not really being fully sure of what you want, because we prioritize placement based off the submission date. And so the sooner you submit, the more likely it will be that you will get your preferences. And so when you're filling out that application, you would select the area of campus you want to live in, the type of room you want to stay in, the roommate or roommates that you wanted to be paired with if you have a match. If you don't, that's completely fine. Any living learning center preferences that you have, I'll talk about living learning centers and thematic communities a little bit later. Your meal plan, I'll talk about meal plans a little bit later. But go ahead and submit that application, as well as your $200 application fee, and then you're set in terms of prioritization of the spaces that you want. If you are requesting to stay with someone in particular, that submission date of the first person in that group of, let's say, maybe 4 or 3 or 2, is the actual date that we will go off of in terms of prioritization. So let's say all of your future roommates submit before you, you are good to go. Like, you can submit whenever, and we will go off of that first person submission date. So the next kind of period is mid-June, kind of the start of orientation that Lisa will talk about in a little bit. That's when you will receive information about your building location, the costs associated with it, and then any LLC or living learning center or thematic community preferences that you may have. And then after that, the end of July date is kind of the final information where you will get the room number, and then also any contact information for roommates. So you can talk to them about who's bringing what, all of those different things. But make sure that you submit by May 11th. You can always submit after May 11th, but we will not necessarily be able to adhere to your preferences as much if you were to submit before May 11th.
Question we often get in admissions is, can I apply for housing without securing my seat in the fall class, i.e. pay the enrollment deposit? Can I still apply for housing without paying the enrollment deposit?
The enrollment deposit of, is it $100? Mm-hmm. Yes. I believe you can.
Yes.
So again, there is no penalty. You might as well go ahead and submit now for your housing application so that you can get as much priority as possible. It did open on February 3rd, and so if someone were to have submitted February 4th, they would definitely get prioritization over someone who submitted, let's say, today. But a lot of our spaces, our centers are very large, so there may not be as much of a demand in a certain center as other ones, but it will never hurt for you to submit it now.
So Lisa, the next big step for individuals becoming a Hoosier is participating in the new student orientation. Can you share with both the students and parents about that process?
Yes. First, you're going to receive a card like this in the mail to let you know that registration for new student orientation is coming up. It will be this month, sometime in the middle of this month. The earlier you register, the easier, the more options that you're going to have available to you. Make sure that you know what your plans are for the summer before you make those reservations, because it does get a little bit complicated as time goes on if you make your reservations at a later date. So make sure that you look at your plans for the summer and then make your reservations on when you want to come for your new student orientation. You can't do your new student orientation until you've done your intent to enroll. So once you've done your intent to enroll, turn around and start with your reservation for new student orientation. It is required. It's going to be a 2-day process, either in June or July. And even if you cannot make it in June or July, there will be some August options as well. Now, what you can expect during new student orientation. If you have questions about books, buying books, how to get books, we will discuss that at new student orientation. If you have questions about where you will be able to eat on campus, we will talk about that at new student orientation. Bus routes, new student orientation. Signing up for your classes, registering for your classes, new student orientation. That's where you're going to see all of those elements played out over the summer. So we want to see you there. We do have a program for the students as well as for the parents. So we have a lot of activities. You will be busy from sun up to sundown. So we will keep you very, very busy. You will be tired, but you will be filled with a lot of information. You'll be feeling a lot more equipped and ready for when you start your classes in the fall.
So this is for the students. Which residence hall did you live in or are you living in? And what's the difference living on campus versus off campus?
I lived in Spruce Hall my freshman year, and I was also in a living learning center. I was in the Inspire one, which is for education majors. I had the same experience. It was really great having people studying the same thing as me for homework help, things like that. So that was great. I currently live off campus in an apartment. It's about 10 minutes away. It is slightly inconvenient occasionally, but usually it's completely fine. On the weekdays, there is a shuttle that runs from the apartment to campus, and then there's also Bloomington transit buses, so I can always get back to campus. So it's great either way.
Do freshmen need cars on campus?
No. I guess I will say, for me, my car was actually broken down during the fall of freshman year, so I didn't have one on campus. I had one in the spring of my freshman year, only because my sister, she's in show choir back at home, and I would drive up occasionally to go see her, but I rarely ever use it for, on-campus things, because even, to go to like College Mall or Walmart or like a grocery store, say if you need to go there, there's buses that even take you there as well that run like every 15 minutes. So it's still very convenient to not have a car too. I mean, for me, I was kind of had the privilege of being McNutt and in Kelly, so literally I was just walking down the street every one of my classes, so it really wasn't that bad for me, and I wouldn't have needed one.
So other than navigating the campus by campus bus, maybe the community bus, how else, bicycles, how else do students navigate campus?
Yeah. So I've seen students have, let's see, we've got birds and limes, which are like the scooters that you've probably seen in other cities. I've seen longboards, skateboards. There's been like those like one wheel, they're not like unicycles, but it's like this one wheel like
Skateboard.
No,
Motorized.
it's kind of like that, but it's like a motorized like one wheel thing, almost kind of like a Segway without like a handlebar sort of thing. It's weird. Yeah, I think walking, that's also a big one.
I said, yeah, you omitted one. Walking, thank you. Yeah, that keeps the freshman 15 off, right? Yes, walking, that's right.
I mean, I do have to say, I do kind of walk everywhere. The longest walk I've ever had to go to class has been 15 minutes. And my mom doesn't like walking, so I know probably a lot of you relate to that. I'm a big walking person. When she came to visit me, she was like, oh, do we have to walk? But ultimately, like, she was fine. The campus seems so huge and like so unmanageable, but it really is manageable. And I walk everywhere. I've never had a problem with that, so that's like my suggestion is walking, but my friends ride their bikes to class, so anything that you would want.
Yeah, and Bloomington is located in the rolling hills of southern Indiana. So if you're not accustomed to the rolling hills of southern Indiana, i.e. Lake County, flat, it takes a little adjustment that fall semester. Okay. So Jeff, explain to us what are faculty hours or office hours, and why should students take advantage of those?
Great question, and I think it's important that you get to connect with your professors. And I mentioned that earlier. I write a lot of recommendations, whether it's for grad school or med school or jobs or whatever. I mean, a lot. And I think that one of the reasons I do that is I get to know my students. And so they feel comfortable coming to me to ask for a reference at the, before they graduate. So one, getting to know your professor is good because you may come back, you may want to take another class, and you may want to ask that person whether he or she can write your recommendation. If you have questions, and again, I think just trying to, you drive that relationship. Take the time to go visit with your professor. I think it's a good idea to email or talk to them beforehand and set that up rather than to just kind of show up unannounced. A lot of professors have office hours. For me, I preferred to have them make an appointment because that way I knew that I didn't have anything else going on, that I could do a one-on-one with that student and really get to spend some time with them. So I think that's really important, just to not become a number. But to take that step and get to know the professor. And, some of the mistakes that I see students make, not getting to bed at the right time. That's a very typical problem. Nobody's here to tell me when to go to bed. And, it goes from 11 o'clock, then it's midnight, then it's 1 o'clock, it's 2 o'clock. And I've had students come in and they look like hell. I said, what time did you go to bed? 4:30. I've had students who couldn't make it to a 12 o'clock noon class because they'd been up so late that they slept through the class. So it's just good to get some really good habits established right away. And then the other thing that I wanted to point out is there's a lot of opportunities here, but you have to go out and seek those. And I think that's where maybe parents can support and motivate and help look for some things. But I know for our kids, Julia went to Washington, D.C. for a semester. She didn't know about the program. She was interested in political science. I found this program, and I said, hey, it's a Washington Leadership Program. So she wound up, after she graduated, she wound up working for Senator Bai in his office as a staff assistant. Then she went on to work for Department of State in D.C. So it was a great, great opportunity. Same thing with our son. He did a internship with IBM, and now he works with IBM in Austin, Texas. So there's a lot of things here that are available to you, and it's really easy to get caught up in, staying up late or hanging with friends and this and that, and forgetting that, the most important thing that you came here to do was to grow as a person, right? To grow intellectually, to grow emotionally. Yeah. Those are the things that you want to do, and you can make that happen right here.
Ken, so student starts in the university division. They're leaning toward an intended major, and all of a sudden they change their mind, and now they're exploratory. Okay, what's the benefits of being exploratory?
Yeah, that's a good one. Exploratory in the parlance just means you haven't committed to a major yet. You're still dating around in the world of majors. And I think there's a danger when students come in and they don't know exactly what they want to do for the next 4 years. They think there's something wrong with them. I mean, they get on InstaFace and Twitterbook and all the social media things, and they see their friends who have everything's planned out. I mean, they know what they're going to major in. They know where they're going to live. They've already got their kid enrolled in preschool, and they think, what's wrong with me? I don't know exactly what I'm going to do. Well, if there are any of those students out there now, take a deep breath and relax. It is the rare student who knows exactly what they're going to do and follows through in 4 years. My son, when he was 8 years old, knew exactly what he wanted to do. He's getting a PhD in it right now. My daughter, on the other hand, went through like 16 or 17 majors before she found something that really spoke to her. And even those who think that they do know exactly what they want to do, I'm actually on a committee that studies this kind of thing. In the first year, 48% of university division students will change their major in that first year. And of the total, 32% will change it in their first semester. So even if you come in thinking you've got it all planned out, things can change. And I always like to think that to a certain extent, everybody who comes in is exploratory. Because if you keep yourself open to everything, all the possibilities, you might be amazed at what you discover. There are majors out there, I guarantee you, that you have never heard of. Maybe you've never even heard the word before. There are majors that are brand new and are going to start for the first time in the fall that are pretty exciting. So even if you come in as a finance major in the Kelley School of Business and you've got your eyes on that corner office at Goldman Sachs and that's where you're going to end up, you will also be working in philosophy and in art history and in natural sciences. So since you have to take courses like that, explore your interests, follow your curiosity, follow your passion. So if you don't know where you're going to be in 4 years, don't sweat it. If you do know where you're going to be in 4 years, be open to other things as well. Thus endeth the sermon.
So on page 10 and 11 of your Red Carpet Day booklet, we talk a little bit about the Living Learning Centers. Lloyd, could you tell us a little bit about the Living Learning Centers?
Yes. I thought there was more. It's like,
Lloyd, that's you.
Yeah.
You're on.
Yes, I can definitely talk about that. But before I even get into that, regardless of whether or not you're in a living learning center or a thematic community, our residential environments are operated underneath a residential curriculum. So we want to shape our residential environments to be places of learning and growth. And we do that through intentional learning goals and learning outcomes. Those learning goals include well-being, understanding self and others, civic stewardship, and then intellectual engagement. And so whether it be a one-on-one interaction with a staff member in your center, a bulletin board that you may see up, a workshop or a program that you may go to, you will be influenced or impacted, hopefully for the better, by our residential curriculum. If you wanted a further kind of expanded experience, we do have living learning centers and thematic communities, about 21 in total. And a living learning community is kind of an intentional experience that Jacob and Alyssa talked about. So the Kelly Living Learning Center is one, Inspire is another, but it's connected to an academic unit. There is an academic course associated with it. There's specific academic advisors and staff and amenities that are associated with a group of students who are living together and kind of navigating that experience together. So it is a little bit more structured. In addition to living learning centers, we also have thematic communities. Thematic communities are similar, but they're a little less structured in the sense that they're not connected to an academic unit, but they're surrounding a shared interest that students have. They're also not connected to a specific course. Some of them are social identity based. Some of them are like recreationally based, but that's also an option too. Through your housing application that's due, perfect. Somebody was like, May 11th, I got it. Was it you? Nailed it. And those shoes and that purse, yes. Killing it all the way around. That is due on May 11th, and you will apply for a Living Learning Center, whereas for a thematic community, you would just kind of express interest for that.
Fashion runway, look out, right?
I'm speechless.
Lisa. All right, so folks, again, referring to your red carpet day booklet, on page 6 and 7, we talk about the Office of First Year Experience. The Office of First Year Experience is only for the freshman year, correct?
Well, primarily, yes,
All right.
for the first
all right,
year.
All right.
Yes.
But you do communicate with them all 4 years, correct?
Yes, we do. Through the Office of First Year Experience, in addition to being all things orientation, as I told you before, hopefully you're going to start meeting new people, developing some friendships. Then it's going to carry on during that week prior to the classes begin.
Is that
And
welcome week?
That is called Welcome Week. And that's going to have even more activities for involvement, for engagement, for you to meet new people, to develop some more friendships, to try new things. The official time will be the induction ceremony, which is going to be on a Wednesday. And that's where we do all the pomp and circumstance and everything so we can onboard you the right way. And then we have activities throughout the week. We will have a variety of activities, things that you will definitely love, things that you will be able to get yourself involved in regarding how to get yourself prepared for the games. Doing all the traditions and spirits. We have a Cultural Fest. We have late night at IMU, the Indiana Memorial Union, this place. Everything is going to be designed all for the student. So on Wednesday, that induction ceremony, the parents will be there. Then you will say goodbye to your parents, and then everything is all for you.
And so I'm in my quote-unquote residence hall room, right? I didn't say the word, okay. You're welcome. And all of a sudden, I discovered that I've forgotten a few things. How do I get to the grocery store, the store to buy things? Does that happen during Welcome Week as well?
Oh, yes, definitely. We even have a special day when we have it, buses go out to Walmart so you can go shopping. So, and they will have a lot of things on sale. For a really good price, if that's a place that you want to spend your money at. Or people go to some other places here in Bloomington to go pick up those things. Some people even forget their toothbrush and their pillow, the essentials. So don't be surprised if you have to go back and run to the store and get something that you need.
All right, so we're going to stick with Welcome Week, students. This is for you, okay? So one takeaway from new student orientation. And then, did you participate in Welcome Week and/or the Student Involvement Fair?
So during orientation, like they've said, you come on for 2 days, get to meet a couple other people throughout your time, and then that's also the time when you schedule your classes for freshman year. So actually, like we were literally just talking about this there were kind of like 4 people that I got really close with during my orientation, and I still talk with all 4 of them to this day, ironically. As for like Welcome Week, There were like a few things I went to. So I had went to like the Culture Fest. Like there were all these different culture centers that had like tents out. Like I think I had a churro for the first time. There was Rec Fest where like people could sign up for like intramural sports. There was Faith Fest for people that were like interested in like religious organizations. So I'm like currently involved in Fellowship of Christian Athletes. And then like at the end of the week, they put on a block party up in the Northwest neighborhood. So our freshman year was Diplo came on campus and performed. So that was like a really fun time just to get to know your floor.
All right, so panelists, share with we're going to open up for Q&A here, but one piece of advice that students can't live without, and then one piece of advice that parents can't live without. Ooh, think long and hard. Yes, so we'll start with the students.
So I guess for the students in the room, I would say get involved. Don't go your 4 years of college without doing at least one thing outside of academics. I mean, if you sit cooped up in your room just studying the whole time, like college is just not going to be that enjoyable for you. Like just to be completely honest, like you have to get out of your comfort zone and just get involved with at least one, maybe two things if you're comfortable with that. Because that's what's going to make your college experience memorable, and that's what's going to make it more fun. For the parents in the room, one of the biggest things for me, with my parents at least, was stay up to date with what your kids are doing and just be understanding with everything going on in their situation. For me, like, you know, I'm wanting to do investment banking, and my parents are a pilot, and one does like promotional products, so neither of them knew what I wanted to do at all. But like I'm currently going through recruiting right now, and they've taken the time to understand the terminology of what's going on with my recruiting process, and like being able to have that conversation with them whenever I go home, or like, you know, I'm someone that I call home pretty quite often, to be quite honest. But being able to just be understanding of what they're learning about, like little things like that, it may not seem like your kids like really want, but it like deep down, like everyone really wants that, just their parents to keep in touch with what they're doing. I think it's like one of the biggest things I can say from my experience.
One piece of advice I'd give to students would be to talk to literally everyone that you can. Even in lecture halls, because there can be a lot of people in there. It's a little intimidating. Make a group chat with the people that are around you. It's really helpful for when, like, if you can't go to class or if you miss something. It's a great way to meet people too. From my classes, I have a lot of group chats that we made, and we hang out all the time. So it's a great way to make friends. When you move in, keep your door open. Just talk to literally anyone that you can, because they're in the same position as you, and they also are afraid. They want to meet as many people as possible. So just try and meet as many people as you can. For parents, I would say just trust your kids. Just trust that they're okay. As I said, I'm 11 hours away from home, so my mom was, not handling the transition as, as great as, I did, but I do call home like every single day, but she doesn't like expect me to or anything. But just trust that your kids are okay. Like obviously it's scary at first for both you and your kids, but once they get acclimated and you get acclimated, just trust that IU is a great place for them and it's super safe, so you have nothing to worry about, and they're gonna have a great 4 years here.
Yeah, I think my wife got her helicopter pilot's license. She called, at least our daughter, she talked every day. They still do. And not quite as frequently with our son, but still I think keeping that communication line open. And it goes both ways. I think, if you're struggling with something as a student, don't be afraid to share that with your parents. There's a lot of resources here available to you, like CAPS, which is, what is it?
Counseling Psychological Services.
Thank you. And so I think that's important both ways. The other thing that I found with students is I know that you're kind of connected to your phones and using text messages, but the way that a lot of announcements go out, at least for faculty that I know, is through email. And so one of the things I had to remind when I taught introductory psychology was to remind the freshman students that check your email. Find out what's going on, okay? It's your responsibility. I mean, if you don't check your email, you you've been contacted, right? So if you don't check it, that's your fault. So you need to know there may be assignments that are due, things like that, so you've got to stay in touch.
Parents, I'm sort of going to undo what Professor Huber just said. Please don't hover. It's a temptation. I know you love your kids and you want what's best for them, and sometimes you think that you're the person who knows what's best for them. You're not always. You got to give them the space to make their own mistakes confidently. So stay involved and know what they're doing and be familiar with what they're doing. But don't hover. Students, all that stuff that they told you in high school about how important time management is going to be, they're absolutely right about that. Plan to spend some time each and every day working on each and every subject. And when I say each and every day, that means everything that has a day at the end of it, like Sunday and Saturday as well. What you will find is that the temptation is not between should I goof around or should I work. It's that I have to work, but I have like 9 different things making a legitimate claim on my time. Which one do I do first? Which one do I do third? If you can get a handle on time management early on, you'll be way ahead of the game.
All right. There are a lot of things that I could say, but the one thing I want to emphasize is for students, read. Read your emails. Take about 10 minutes of your day, make it a habit, read your emails, like he was talking about with coming from your classes, and also check your email for any alerts of things that may be going on campus. And then also, through the Office of First Year Experience, we will send first-year students, as well as the parents, a newsletter. And that newsletter is full of different types of information about study abroad opportunities, scholarship opportunities, what's going on with housing, the days that, something may be closed, when the residence halls may shut down for meal service because, a holiday or something is coming up that's going to be celebrated, and maybe food service is not going to be available. Those things you can find out through reading. So I know that we are all pretty tuned in to our phones and those type of things, but reading will take you a long way. And then for parents, do not impersonate your students on their one.IU account. I know they probably have already given you all of their information, but what you need to do is really encourage your student to take ownership of their pathway here at IU and learn all of these elements about being a student on their own. So push them to use their one.IU account so they know what they need to do. And so that's it.
All right, I'm going to try to make this quick and take this opportunity to talk about food because I love it and we literally can't live without it. So the first thing is dietary restrictions. If you have any kind of concerns about a gluten allergy or being vegetarian or vegan, if you go to our website, rps.indiana.edu, and click on Ask RPS, you can ask any questions that you have about kind of concerns related to eating on campus. You will be connected with our dietitian, Rachel, and she will work with you through creating a kind of experience that works best for you. In addition to that, the meal plan, there are so many different options for food. Well, just raise of hands for anyone who's ever enjoyed a meal. Oh, yes. Me as well. And there are so many different opportunities in Bloomington and on campus to eat good. And so there's so many different places on campus to go to, literally more than 25 that are each place, not every place, but in total, they're open about 19 hours a day, and the hours that they're not open, you're probably going to be sleeping anyway. You have a meal plan that can either be a standard, a plus, or a max. We recommend the standard. It's the most popular. It's about $15 on average a day. The plus is about $21 on average a day, and then the max is about $27. We suggest this standard because you can always add to it. You can never take away from something and like get your money back. So you might as well start with the plus. It is, when you pay for a plan, you do pay for those operational costs, so like the cost of labor and equipment and materials up front. And then whatever's left over is your funds or points or bucks for paying in like a dining location. And so you go in, everything is a la carte. You would buy your items, let's say they total $10, you go to the cash register, it would swipe. They're called iBucks 60 plans because there's a 60% discount. And so you would actually only be paying $4 for that. To add to it, you can add in increments of 5 with a minimum of $25, and you aren't paying for those operational costs again. And so all the more reason to pick the standard plan. When you're thinking about the best plan for you, there's some questions that you're probably going to ask yourself. Who am I? How much do I eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Do I even eat breakfast? Am I going to be on campus all weekends? Will I have a job that potentially will be providing me my meals, potentially dining, working for dining? Will I have a sibling or a friend who doesn't have a meal plan, who may be hitting me up for mine? All of those questions will help you best decide which meal plan is the best for you.
Let's give it up for our panelists here. All right, so we're gonna break into some Q&A. So if you have a question, raise your hand if you have a question. And so the question is, how do you get back and forth to the Indianapolis airport? Philly, Pennsylvania.
So there is a shuttle system called Go Express. The tickets can range from like $18 to $22. I think mine for spring break was like $20. And the seats do fill up, so the earlier you do it, the better. And around holiday breaks, it gets cheaper, so that's always something to keep in mind. And so basically they'll pick you up from residence hall. I didn't live in the one that it had. I think it picked up from Wilkie, and I lived in Spruce, so I just walked across the street and then waited there. And then they have like the storage underneath the bus, so they'll put your luggage in there for you. And then you just need to show them that you bought the ticket, you get on the bus, and then they take you right to the airport, get right out. Same thing with picking you up. They'll drop you off at that same residence hall that you got picked up from. And then I know if you're from Chicago, there's like a whole separate bus system for you. So that's also something that you can use as well.
Isn't that for like, how many cities do that? Is it just Chicago or?
If you're going to like Northwest Indiana, Chicago, but it drops off, I think it's Oak Park Mall. I'm looking. Other questions? Yes, sir. Medical emergency. So my son or daughter has a medical emergency. Where can they go?
Yeah, so we have the IU Health Center on campus. So that's been pretty convenient for myself, and I'm sure for her as well. Having like, in case like if I've gotten sick before, like had the flu, and I had my roommate like drive me over to the health center real quick, and there it's like on the second or third floor or something like that. You can get like an easy checkup like really quickly, and it's like really convenient. And then we also have a hospital off campus as well on top of that.
So how were the faculty flexible? If you had a medical issue, were you able to make up classes, tests?
So it's kind of dependent on what the style of class is. Like if it's a lecture-based class where the professor does not take attendance because there's 200 people in the room, it's something that's kind of on you then to either get notes from a friend or go to the office hours of the professor. For classes that have like a mandatory attendance policy to where you have to sign in, they're less lenient on that typically, like with absences of like having sick, like say if you have the flu and you have a doctor's note, typically that won't count sometimes for their attendance policy, but they're still willing to work with you on like helping you catch up. That way you're not missing anything, if that makes sense.
Yes. Yeah, if it is a serious situation where you're missing class, you can actually get resources through the Dean of Students Office, and we also have a Student Advocates Office on campus. And so they can contact professors on your behalf to explain to them the situation, make sure that you're getting any accommodations that you need. Disability Student Services is also an option depending on if you were to need any kind of accommodations related to testing or class time, anything like that. Also in the realm of kind of like medical services, there are several urgent cares within Bloomington, and then there is also a medical verification form through your housing application if you need any kind of accommodations for your room that's due by May 1st.
If you know in advance that you're going to be missing class for some, maybe it's a funeral or job interview or something like that, I mean, I can only speak for myself, but I'm a lot more understanding when somebody comes before it happens to tell me that they're not going to be there. I'm really willing to work with them. If they tell me 2 weeks after they missed class what happened, it's a little tougher to help them catch up. I'm still willing to do that. But I think, professors are just like anybody else, and we'd like to know beforehand if you can't make it to class and what the reason is.
Any other questions out there? Yes. Okay, so the question is, what resources do students have for finding a JOB while you're on campus or afterwards? While you're on campus, okay.
Yeah, so if you go to the employment website for IU, there are plenty of opportunities that are for full-time employees, but then also for students. I'm gonna put a a prideful plug in. Rec Sports, I think, is the largest employer for students on campus, but then second to that is Residential Programs and Services. So if you're wondering about being a resident assistant or a community educator or working for dining, we employ so many students. We have literally in housing around 300 student staff members, whether they work at the desk, they may be a resident assistant or a community educator, a lot of different things. And then dining, all those wonderful places that you can eat at, we need folks to serve food and do a lot of different things, manage. It's a great opportunity to learn or develop skill sets in terms of time management that will help you for your classes, all those different things. But also at the same time, it's an added advantage to work on campus because we will most likely work with your schedule a little bit better than working in Bloomington would work with your schedule because we know that you're students first, and so we would accommodate that the best that we could.
Minimum.
What about it? Oh, minimum wage is $10.10 on campus.
Okay. Lisa, during Welcome Week, is there still on Friday a jobs fair?
On Friday? I don't know if it's on Friday, but
Okay.
we do have a job fair.
Traditionally, it's been held on Friday. Okay, so there is a jobs fair, though.
Yes,
Right,
there
okay.
is a job fair. There is a job fair. Yes.
Right. So before we close, we want to thank you once again for choosing to attend Red Carpet Day. A round of applause for the admitted students. One more time for our fabulous campus partners.